for the riders on Red Spawn, we have the holy crap, we're already underway. I think that the loadouts are exactly the same. Fancy is the Mobula we've seen today. Ulfbert is probably Gatling Carronade. We don't even have time for this. Fancy, loading shots into loads of money. However, we do have the RAS Minerva, which is a blender fish. Yeah, it's rising up, dealing with the turning around, deal with the Fancy, but the riders don't care. They're just going for the loads.
Yeah, the Ulfbert hasn't even turned around to engage, and that may be for the better because this time around he is Hades Artemis. I took a quick peek-see. But now Minerva is going within effective range of the Hades art, and it is beginning, well, not quite sinking, but it will be shortly, I'm sure.
Ooh, armor down on the Fancy. Ignoring that blender fish is going to be the death of the riders, at least of the Fancy. Armor down. Carronade finishes it. No, that was actually the Mobula with Artemis. And now the Ulfbert way back there.
Yeah, and no perma damage as of now on the Praetorians. Centurions.
Not at all.
SPQR. Always get the two confused. That's one of the things. That's one of the things I miss about the old clan system is when a clan was fielding two teams, they would change their tags to sort of suit that.
Yeah, Ulfbert losing two of its engines right now. Its main engine and its turning engine. Losing that. Oh no, Minerva, you can't escape from a Goldie as a Pyrrha, especially when you're backing up trying to protect your engines. But now the Ulfbert is in huge trouble with the Minerva. Who is flying that? Jub is okay. That's Jub. He's an incredible pilot. The sort of maneuvers he's pulling off of this Goldie are absolutely amazing. And the Ulfbert is going to fall. Minerva getting behind it. Loads of money. Getting easy shots into it.
Oh, look at Minerva's going right now. Minerva is reversing and going backwards so we can be in perfect position to engage the Fancy when it flies right over him.
Jub.
That was gorgeous.
Jub.
Was gorgeous.
Amazing.
And he's already taken out the balloon on the Fancy, but loads of money. Loses hull and balloon himself. Minerva may have left for a little too long, but
no, look at this. Balloon's down on the Fancy. He's coming right in behind, and if he can get the ram, that'll be the kill.
Yeah,
and that'll be the way home.
All he has to do is, is he switching on the Ulfbert?
No, he's running past it. Loads of money, though, in trouble.
Ulfbert does not have the upward arc explosive damage that he needs to finish off the loads of money. Fancy, balloon is out, hull is out. Minerva's just going to follow him right down into the water. While Ulfbert takes the brunt of the damage from the loads of money.
Yeah, a little bit of a Hades fight going on with the loads of money and Ulfbert right now. Hades going to the Ulfbert. Look at that greased ammo loading into the armor. Armor's down. Artemis comes out.
Sink in. Fancy is in no position to fight back with no hull and balloon going down so quickly. Both of those engineers have to be tanking, which means you only have one person shooting on the Fancy right now. The Hades is the only thing that's running, and that is not enough to take out a goldfish.
Ouch, look at the Carronade rip through the armor of the Fancy. That buffed Carronade is huge. However, they get the balloon back up. They try to hydro up, but they lose the balloon immediately. And there goes the entire ship. 3-0 in favor of the Praetorians.
Loads of money, taking a little bit of ship damage, still above half. Minerva and Jub, some gorgeous flying.
Now, I'd like to point out, Jub's ship actually has 2 members of the Crimson Sky Menace and 1 member of Sacrilege.
Oh,
it's not quite fully Praetorian.
But it's got the Praetorian pilot. Praetorians and friends today.
And it's like the play that has impressed me most so far is, can you tell?
It's when Jub.
Looks like we have... Okay, looks like Kirk's a little bit preoccupied right now. Something is happening. Yeah, Jub has been flying amazingly today. The buffs on the engines have been there. He's been turning hard. Amazing play.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am being called away to something I can no longer put off any further. So I am afraid I'm going to have to leave you in these finals here to finish up, as today has gone on so much longer than I could have anticipated.
No, it has. 9 teams takes a while.
Yes, it does. So I am very much, unfortunately, going to have to dodge out. But you are more than capable of finishing this up. And I will see you all next week.
Yep, I'm sure I can make this happen. Thank you very much for joining, Kirk. We do have an engagement right now. Unfortunately, Kirk is not going to be a part of it. Minerva overshoots the Fancy. Armor down on the Minerva. Ulfbert threatening to put a lot of hull damage into this Goldie. It hasn't... Its hull is still high, though. Armor down. Flamethrower going out on the Minerva. Going to really slow this Goldie down. The loads of money loading up the Ulfbert with damage, but 2 ships firing on 1 may just be too much. Armor breaks on the Minerva again. Hades still going into the starboard side of the Ulfbert, but their engineers are not having any trouble keeping up with that damage so far. Armor down on the Minerva. Hull not looking great. Ulfbert looking for the kill. Fancy looking as well. That Artemis still has arc, but the armor comes back up. Ulfbert too close for Hades, and the Minerva is going to shoot right past it, going to the Fancy, trying to save its ally. It's going to leave itself open, and it almost certainly will die to the Pyrrha eventually, but first it must save its ally. Fancy dropping down. If the Minerva wants to follow it down, it's going to put itself in arc of the Ulfbert. Hades landing quite nicely. Can the Ulfbert get around the mountainside? Armor down. One more shot of anything will do it. Artemis goes wide, and the armor comes back up. Fancy's armor, however, still up, and it is dropping, but it's going to be able to rise back up if the carronade does go down. Fancy bumps. Minerva has a chance to ram for the kill. Hull is dropping quick, and there goes the Fancy. The Minerva giving its life at the very end there to pick up that kill. 4-1 in favor of the Praetorians. Ulfbert, however, in a little bit of trouble. Trying to close distance. Doesn't want the Hades and double Artemis to do too much to him. Returning fire. Loads of money's armor not looking great. And it may go down here. It's letting its balloon go to make sure it can still put damage out. There goes the armor of the loads of money, though. That balloon being out makes that Hades so much easier to land, but the Fancy spawns in right behind the loads of money to help pick up the kill. And I don't think any permahull damage is going to be had on the part of Ulfbert. Passive voice is not how you want to cast. Loads of money falls. Burning. Why am I pronouncing Praetorian weird? Praetorian. I don't know. I heard it in an old game. They were just like, I am Praetorian. That's where I learned it. Rydr's right now in a tough spot. 4-2. The Praetorians only have 1 kill to go. However, neither ship on the Rydr's side is damaged at all. Both of them going down recently. Decent engagement for the Rydrs, but they have got to win the next at least 2 engagements. I am impressed with the Minerva. The Minerva made a huge mistake going in a little bit too far and getting focused down, losing all of its firepower, but it was able to survive just long enough. Great props to the engineers of the Minerva, their stand-ins. The Minerva moving in on the Fancy. They know they just need 1 more kill, and they're desperate for it. Ulfbert trying to stop the Minerva, but it can't. Minerva going to try to get around behind the Fancy. Loads of money trying to drop the guns on it, but the Ulfbert is left completely open to damage the Minerva. Artemis going to go wide. Minerva about to get his guns into arc. Armor drops on the Fancy. Praetorians just need this kill. Minerva will not go down fast enough because there's not enough just kill potential on the Ulfbert right now. Fancy drops hard after losing their balloon. They just let themselves drop for a little while. They just now bring their balloon back up, and they are in safety. However, the Ulfbert is now going to be a pretty huge target. Minerva eating Hades, eating Artemis. Loads of money is right there. This Hades has not actually been that threatening for a while, but the engines are down. Armor down on loads of money, though. Fancy coming back up. Minerva has fallen pretty bad. Minerva just keeps going out a little bit too far ahead. Loads of money now losing its armor. And the Rydrs turning this around to make it a 4-4. And all they spent was a fair bit of permahull damage on the Fancy. Now, this is really important. It actually, they managed to pull it back to 4-4. And the Praetorians were specifically going for the Fancy to try and pick up the quick victory. They didn't want this to last any longer than they needed to. Right now, overtime is being used. and they just don't want to burn any of it. Because they know that they're going to have to go into the last match, and they want to have a little bit of breathing room. They are the more defensive team, and it makes sense that they want to have some overtime left. The Fancy is very, he's in a lot of trouble. He has to be really careful about how he approaches, but the Rydrs are anything but careful. They love being aggressive, and they love using that perfect play that they're so known for. Loads of money, eating a lot of fire. These Hades are really doing a number, but the Minerva is being given a chance to move in. They switch their fire, but the Minerva's doing fine. Armor gonna hold, it looks like, as it rises up and out of arc of the Artemises. Loads of money. A little bit far away to do reliable damage to the Fancy, and the Rydrs are backing up behind cover and farther away from the loads, which is not going to be able to land a whole lot of shots. The Praetorians need both ships doing something right now. Armor down to the Minerva, that's all it took. Goldfish have such low armor values. This may be too much. 3 Artemises and 2 Hades can rip through a ship really quickly. And again, the loads of money firing on the Ulfbert on that big open port side. But the Minerva is about to fall. Armor comes back up just in time. Artemis is continuing to rein in. And the Ulfbert doesn't care about the loads. They just want the kill on the Minerva, and they are going to get it. Rydrs pick up game number 2, and they are your SCS number 30 victors. First place, Praetorians picking up number 2 after a couple of desperate maneuvers. Needlessly aggressive. The Rydrs never changed their strategy at all during that. They knew they were down, but they knew that if they were going to pick up the victory from 4-1, they just had to play their game. And they did it. That's exactly what they did. And the Praetorians, they knew they just needed that one kill. They got aggressive. They tried to pick up the kills, and then the Minerva ended up behind cover. The Rydrs just backed up behind it so that the loads of money couldn't really help nearly as much. They backed away, let the Minerva overextend. The Praetorians, at the last second, changed their game to something more aggressive than they're used to. And it played against them so badly. We've seen the Praetorians do that every time. Not every time, but in the past couple of weeks, when it gets down to the wire, they get uncomfortable, they get overly aggressive, and it's their downfall. Every time.